for all. Thank you. I'd like a motion from the board to dispense with the regular format, please.
So moved.
Ms. Talley?
Second.
Mr. Metzler? Okay. We're going to,
Mike, take a vote on that real
oh,
quick.
yes, sorry, I forgot.
Right.
Need a vote, please, Mr. Watson?
Mrs. Talley?
Yes.
Mr. Metzler?
Yes.
Mr. Kruger?
Yes.
Mr. Yanati?
Yes. Motion passes 4-0. Okay, this is the time for public participation at board meetings, and we recognize the value, and it's one of the reasons why we called this meeting, is to hear from the public and as well to discuss publicly our thoughts as well. We need to keep this to a 5-minute time limit for each speaker. Again, this is a hot issue. We get that. We'd like to keep it professional. And if you have a dissenting opinion, that's fine, but please present it in an orderly fashion. Thank you. Okay. Ms. Clyde, did any of them sign up first, or is there an order?
Yeah, how I handed them to you,
Okay.
I believe it would be just in that order.
Okay. I'd like to call up a Ms. Jennifer, is it Dorley? Doherty? Okay, Doherty, I'm sorry.
You might need to adjust it, or you can take it off, whatever you're comfortable with.
Again, I'm going to remind everybody there's a 5-minute time for each speaker.
Can you hear me? I might have to stand on my tiptoes. I'm sorry. It's childlike for me. I'm sorry. So my name's Jennifer Dollery. I live at 28 East Columbus Street. I've been in the district with my kids now going on 17 years. So I'd just like to address, who am I addressing, I guess? You, Mr. Yanati, all of
Addressing
you?
the board
Okay.
and as a whole.
Sure.
Address the board, or the board president. yes.
Sure, okay. All right, thank you for having me here to speak tonight. I have 2 children in the district. I've been in the medical profession for over 20 years in patient care, research, and management. I know from what I do how many people are in our hospital with this virus. That's what this is. It's a virus, and I'm not discounting the seriousness of it at all. Believe me, I know, I see it every day. I am saying, however, that we have a virus on our hands, just like the flu, H1N1, which I was in the thick of, and the common cold. Those are all viruses. There is no way that we're going to eradicate this with a vaccine or mask wearing. I have worked through some of these times in the hospital and can tell you that people get sick and people die. We know that. It's unfortunate for sure. But the virus has a greater than 99% survival rate among children and 97% in most adults. Let's not forget that. That should be at the forefront of our mind. Studies have shown that personal immunity to this virus is exponentially better than that of a vaccine. Studies have also shown that masks are physically, emotionally, and most importantly, mentally harmful to our children. Did you know that the CDC, who is an agency, by the way, not a lawmaking entity, states that children without comorbidities have a 0.2% chance of dying from this virus? They have a 1.5% chance of dying from suicide, however, and that number continues to rise. It rose 23% from the summer of 2019 to the summer of 2020 and continues to rise now. What are we doing to our children? Did you also know that a virus is a nanoparticle? Did you know that a mask is made to protect you from macroparticles? COVID is 120 nanoparticles. An N95 mask will protect you from a particle the size of 150 to 300 nanoparticles. These masks that y'all are wearing, they're not protecting you from anything but your own self. Hence, wearing a surgical, cotton, or plastic mask does nothing to protect anyone. It does, however, increase shortness of breath by 29.7%, dizziness by 26.4%, and accelerate respiration in children. Funny how 2 of those are on the COVID symptom list here at Canal, Winchester, and can get a child sent home and quarantined unless they want to stick a COVID test up their brain, with which it has EO on it. I don't know if y'all know what EO is, but that's ethylene oxide, an ingredient that the EPA has banned. It's a carcinogen. It's a mutagenic piece of particle that we're putting up our children's nose over and over and over again. Masks worn for more than 20 minutes are supposed to be discarded. Dentists have noticed more gum disease and cavities due to mask wearing and due to the constant moisture. So surgical masks need to be thrown away every 20 minutes. Otherwise, we are just contaminating them over and over and over again, causing upper respiratory infections, causing stuffy noses, all of the things that are on our COVID list. Look up the CO2 measurements when children place masks on. There's a YouTube video. Go ahead and watch it. There are multiple. But within 3 minutes, they're at toxic levels of CO2. Please tell me why this is not considered child abuse. We need to slow down and use common sense here. Those who want to wear a mask, by all means, wear a mask. Get vaccinated. But your mask or your vaccine protects you. And we make the decision who protects us. I do not need it to protect me or my child. We make that decision. You are here to educate my child, and I realize that the government and state and federal have put you in a difficult spot in that, and I understand that fully. But that doesn't give you the right to suggest to our children what they should be doing with their health in this situation, and that has been done over the past couple weeks in school, and that's not okay. That includes the vaccine, which, by the way, the FDA approval letter is not approved for children under the age of 16. It is still an emergency use only. I have that, and I can show it to you.
Okay, we have 30 seconds, please.
Okay. So please stop suggesting to our kids or making them feel singled out or less than because of their own personal choices. And that's what this school, and that is what you, our school district, have tried to teach them, correct? That you want them to be educated so that they can make choices on their own free will. I will have an email with all the articles that I've cited. We will not stop this with a mask, not a vaccine. We will not stop it after we have, until we have enough personal immunity to fight this off. Take your vitamin C, D, and zinc and get some sunshine and wash your hands. For the love of God, breathe fresh air.
Would you mind saying? Thank you. Would you mind sending me or allowing me to see the resources for the statistic, please?
I'll email them to you. I don't have
Yeah.
it cited on here. My print.
Okay, my emails at school is on the website.
I got you.
Okay.
I sent an email to you already.
Thank you.
God be with us all.
Okay, next would be Ms. Krista Hall.
I'm just glad I'm going after her and not before her. I'm tall, so I probably don't even really need a microphone to carry my voice.
It's for the folks at home.
Okay,
Home folks.
it's okay.
They go up. Do you need to?
Really? Okay.
Well, just give me a
Singing
second, I'll
karaoke?
get it, but it'll just take a minute, so I don't.
Sorry,
I got it.
That's okay.
Part of my job.
You've been working on that for weeks.
Okay, that's good. Okay, that's good. My name is Krista Hull, and I have two boys who attend Canal Winchester High School, a 9th grader and a 12th grader. And I'm here today to share my frustrations and concerns regarding the mask mandates of our students in both elementary and high school buildings. I first off want to say that I am a 3rd grade teacher in another district, so I have been on both ends as a parent and as an educator. And I have seen, as far as the littles go, because again, we're K through 5 building, but our students come to school with masks hanging off their face, food in them, ripped, lost. I've had students come to school crying because they're terrified because they lost their mask. To me, that's an emotional child abuse. And then Journal of Infectious Diseases and Epidemiology, it states that prolonged use of surgical masks by people, and I'm including children as well, during COVID-19 have caused adverse effects such as headaches, rash, acne, skin breakdown, and impaired cognition in the majority of people surveyed. Not to mention the anxiety that this causes for students who have to wear masks all day and breathe in their own carbon dioxide daily, like you said, Mrs. Dollery. And the studies are clear that they don't prevent the spread of COVID. Now, I don't have the scientific data that she does. I have it on some slides that I've seen, and I'd be more than happy to share with you. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a mom and a teacher. But everything I have read has stated that these are aerosol particles that float, COVID, are aerosol particles that float in the air, sometimes days after, and they are breathed into the deep tissue of your lungs, and that is how you get sick. And masks, unless you have, even above surgical grade, do not stop those particles. So it's nothing more than just something to wear to make it look like you're doing something to stop the spread. And to me, that's what this is all about. If parents want to send their kids to school with a mask, that's fine. I have teachers in my building that wear masks. Some do, some don't. Some kids wear masks, and that's fine. Nobody says anything to them. That's their choice. But I should have the choice on whether or not to force my children to wear one, especially since we know they don't stop the spread. And that's scientific data that states that. I've talked to other kids. I'm not in the high school, but from what I have heard from other students, less than 10% of the students are coming to school with masks. So that leads me to believe that the majority of the parents in our district do not want their kids to be masked up, because if it was their choice, they would be coming to school wearing one. Some do, but the majority don't. This tells me the majority, that they don't want them to wear masks, and if they are, so if you do have some parents that, let's say, feel that their children need to be masked up, why couldn't we offer those students that same online option that they had last year? So that if those parents who are nervous about having their kids be at school with other students, they would have that online option. Chances are, I experienced it in our own building, there were very, very, very few that wanted that online option. So again, I just believe that this is not something that the general population of our district, parent-wise, feels is necessary. But if they did, at least they would have that option to do the online. Every teacher, and this is from a teacher's perspective, every teacher's been given access to the vaccine if they choose to get it. Less than 1% of fully vaccinated people experience a breakthrough of COVID-19 infection. So as a teacher, myself, I am not worried. When my students come to class, I don't wear a mask. Most of my students don't wear a mask, and I'm not the least bit concerned. So I can, I guess, put my money where my mouth is and say I'm not the least bit concerned. I feel this is nothing more than a way to make it appear that the district is doing something to stop the spread, when in reality it doesn't do anything but cause harm to our students. We were told at the beginning of this pandemic 18 months ago that we only needed to wear masks to slow the curve. Then it wasn't until we could vaccinate the vulnerable population. And now here we are 18 months later, and we're still trying to force masks. When is this going to end? Because I don't believe this virus is going away. So we can't spend the rest of our lives wearing masks. So at what point is this all going to stop? Thank you.
Thank you. And again, if anybody has statistics or data, if you would please forward that to me via my email, or even I can set a time to pick them up from you if that works. Okay, next on our list would be Lindsay Webb, please.
So I probably won't take up the 5 minutes. I don't have anything written down for you. I'm just coming to you, sorry,
That's okay.
as a parent who has a child who is not able to wear a mask. He has severe anxiety and OCD. And I just ask that you please consider those kids. When you make this a requirement, please come up with some sort of exemption or something so that my kid can go to school. He's already missed out for a whole entire year. He had to do online learning last year. He missed out on an honors class. He's a good kid. He's already taken high school classes in the 8th grade. He's taking honors classes, but he couldn't move forward with honors classes because of your online program last year. He does much better in-person learning. So please, please consider something for those kids who have mental health issues, who are not able to put something over their face. It is not because of politics. It is not because he's trying to be against the rules. It has nothing to do with that at all. He truly is a kid who cannot put something over his face all day. So please, when you're making your decision, please keep all of those kids in mind. Please. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, next on, and I'm not very good at reading small print. Richard, is it Rodewald? Yeah. Okay, I don't want to mispronounce the name. When you have a name like Yanati, you want to make sure.
Good evening. Thank you for your time again. Good to see everybody. I'm not going to kind of regurgitate some of the stuff that we talked about last time. One of the things I wanted to ask is revisiting of the flow chart. And when kids come in contact with COVID, it's asinine to me that you can go get a negative test for COVID and you're still forced to be out of school 5 to 7 days. I know everything we're basing is based off cases in our area. We're going to have a lot of cases that are reported next week because it's my understanding the whole 7th and 8th grade football team was just sent home. And we're probably told they needed to get tested in order to come back to school. We talked about the aerosol particles, a lot of the facts and things like that. For me, the kids should be in school. Again, if you want the option to wear a mask, wear a mask. If there are options you guys are coming up with for parents to be able to leave their kids at home or do the koala thing again for certain at-risk kids, that's fine. But they've already talked about all the numbers. We talked about them before. Happy to email you some more of those. But the kids should be in school. They should be in school, not forced to wear a mask. The numbers are what supports that. We all have individual stories. We all have kids with different needs. I can tell you the stories about my kids and how masks and different things have affected them, but the reality of it is my kid is no more important than any other kids when you have data over 18 months' time to look at a collective. And when you can look at data to know what the right thing to do is, and when you have sciences behind certain things like the lady pointed out about the masks and how they're really not stopping anything from getting in anyways, especially when you're fidgeting with your face and stuff all day long. The kids shouldn't be forced to wear masks, especially when they're at virtually no risk as a collective to wear a mask. They also shouldn't be forced to stay home, miss extracurriculars, do certain things, and miss out on their childhood. They're not political pawns. I mean, these kids over the last 18 months, they've seen their parks roped off with caution tape. They've seen their basketball hoops torn down at the park. They've been told they couldn't go to the pool. They've been yelled at by parents for playing in their yard and driveways. They are not political pawns to protect the adults. It's the other way around. It's our responsibility to do what's in their best interest. And their best interest is to be in school without being forced to wear masks. Again, I'm happy to send you any other material. We talked about it before. But that was really what I wanted to address, was see if there was some kind of change that could be made to the flow chart, because to have a kid provide a negative COVID test and still be forced out for 5 days, or even just have a parent call in because their kid wasn't feeling well and now they got to make a doctor's appointment or shove a COVID test up their kindergartner's nose in order for them to go back to school, that's not right. Some changes need to be made to that in order to let our kids be in school and for our parents to be able to provide normalcy for them. So thank you again for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next on our list would be Ms. Vangela Barnes, please.
You're welcome.
Good evening, and thank you for letting me speak. I seem outnumbered here, but I just wanted to give a little bit of thought on the other side, since we've heard a lot from this side. I'd kind of hoped to hear from the school board what specifically had called this meeting, but I knew it had to be something to do with mask, but at the same time, I been in the district for 18 years. I have 4 kids that have graduated from Canal, Winchester, and I'm also a foster parent. I do realize that it's difficult for kids to wear a mask. As a foster parent, I deal with different ages of kids, and specifically this year, I have a son who is at the Career Center. My question specifically is, the Career Center is not mandating masks, and if this Career Center is not mandating masks, and the kids are riding the same bus, and they're coming home with kids in the middle school, not with masks, and I do know that the buses are required to wear masks, but none of them are 3 feet apart on a school bus. So there's not very much social distancing. There's probably a lot of touching, from what my son says. And he's been out of school for 2 days. I don't know yet if he has COVID. I'm waiting to get the test back. Last year, I had a son who had COVID as a basketball player. The whole basketball team couldn't play. When he did have COVID, he still has symptoms. He still has a loss of taste and smell to this day. And he is a very perfectly healthy child with no underlying conditions, not overweight, nothing. Nothing's wrong with him or ever was wrong with him. I do know from a personal experience of someone who is in the 3rd grade who is fighting for his life today after going back to school and did not have any underlying conditions and wasn't sick until he went back to school. I'm not saying masks will prevent anyone from getting COVID. I'm saying if we can take every precaution to help our kids be safe and secure and prevent them from being sick, for me, I have had to deal with kids who have anxiety, kids who have learning disabilities. I get the toughest kids as a foster parent. I get the kids who have various different IEPs, who you have to make special conditions and special arrangements for. I say make those conditions, make those special arrangements, do whatever we can to make sure that those kids have whatever they need. But on the majority of our population in school, do we want to be out of school again because we have so many cases of COVID in our district? Is that what we really want? Do we want to be forced to be at home? We make mandates for so many things in our school districts. Our kids can't wear their shorts 3 inches above the knees. They can't wear holes in their pants. They can't wear hats on their heads. They can't do this. They can't do that. We make mandates for so many things that have nothing to do with health. They have to do with whatever reason that we're making that mandate. So for me, we as parents have to make choices for our kids. I get it. I understand when people say, it's my choice, it's my kid. But as a kid that we're sending to a public school, some of our choices go along with whether or not they're impacting the other kids at the school as well. And I would just like to see us do whatever is going to make sure, and I'm not even saying make sure, whatever is going to do our best to alleviate the fact that we could have more kids getting sick. I went around all day yesterday in every store I could find in this area looking for on-the-shelf COVID tests because I couldn't find one for my son. They're sold out so fast. They were gone. That tells you that there's a lot of other people that are getting COVID tested around here for whatever reason. And I guess the one thing I would like to say is...
Ms. Marcia, you have 30 seconds.
Okay.
Just as a reminder.
Is if we could just think about our kids and think about how we could eliminate making it political. It shouldn't be political. It shouldn't have anything to do with politics. What it has to do with is the best interests of our kids. And for me, the best interest of our kids is let's try it out. Let's try it out for a couple weeks and see if some of the virus and things go down. We've tried it one way. Let's try it the other way.
Thank you. Okay, again, I may need help with this name, but is it Loris McHugh? I'm sorry?
It's Loris McHugh kept funding.
Thank you.
That's okay, I'm fine.
I need better contacts, I guess.
I'm a new Ohioan. I've been here for about 8 months now. I come from Massachusetts. We are definitely a little bit more, I'd say, conservative in the sense of like we wear masks when we're out in public. So here it might be a little different, and I understand that everybody has a choice, right? For us and my family, my husband is actually a healthcare provider. He's a nurse practitioner, and he's actually dealt with COVID for the past 18 months. He's had to deal with COVID positive patients every single day, Monday through Friday, and it's taxing. I can see, him dealing with it and how it's actually impacted him, both, I would say, it's both professionally and also personally. Having to deal with patients who've died, it's definitely something that, wears on you. And also in our family, we have my sister-in-law who's a nurse at Grant Medical, and she also deals with COVID patients. And it's wearing on her as well. I mean, I'm just looking at the people who we have to, in my family, I have to care for, my husband, my sister-in-law, all that they've had to deal with, all that they've actually, all the people that have either died on their watch because of COVID-19. It really, it can take a toll on people. I'm just saying that I understand that people may not want their child to wear a mask, and if they're vaccinated, that's great. But my child's 5 years old. She doesn't have a choice to get vaccinated. I've even reached out to find out in her class, because we are very much about hygiene at our home. And it's important for you to wash your hands. It's recommended. And she's telling me she's not washing her hands at school. She's just getting hand sanitizer. And before she eats, it's imperative that she gets her hands washed. It should be a requirement here. It actually makes me kind of question, I'm talking about health. So if we don't want to wear masks, how about we help our children with washing their hands before they eat? Because that is also another way to get COVID. Just putting hand sanitizer on is not necessarily gonna, help prevent the spread. Washing your hands with hot soapy water is very important. So if you don't want to wear a mask, how about we wash our children's hands as well? So I want, you to realize that there's not just one thing or another thing. There's multiple different things that we need to do to help stop the spread. And throughout the day, we need to make sure our children are washing their hands. They are touching things, they're touching their nose, they're touching other things, and they're sharing things, and it's just spreading of germs. So I understand, they may not necessarily have to wear a mask, but can we at least try to implement better hand hygiene for our children to help them? So, thank you.
Thank you. Next on the speakers list is Cassandra Davidson.
Hi.
Thank you.
I am not as prepared as some of the rest of the people because I am inundated with COVID. So I will speak against my nurse counterpart when it comes to what we're actually seeing in the hospitals. I've been in the district since '99. I know many of you personally through kids, through schools, through whatever. I have sent you guys resources that are peer-reviewed and or coming from health authorities within Central Ohio, whether it be Dr. Rustin Morse, who's the CMO of Nationwide Children's Hospital, who is telling the toll that the children are seeking, or that the hospital is feeling from all of the children that are coming, whether it's RSV or now COVID patients, and the uptick that they have seen there. I have sent you guys the letters from the police from all of the children's hospitals across the country requesting that masks be placed back in the schools to help prevent some of the spread. I disagree with the statement that surgical masks have to be discarded within 20 minutes because I don't know any surgeon that takes off a surgical mask 20 minutes, every single 20 minutes to replace. I am angry because at you all, because I thought that you would have listened to the sources that are out there and what you had been given, but I'm more angry at myself for the trust that I placed in your hands. I am tired of the conspiracy theories that are going around and the sources that are being thrown out there from YouTube videos or even journal articles where they're quoted, but it's from the people who are surveyed and not the actual peer-reviewed part of the articles. I have heard multiple people quote the Constitution and the Bible, and it's our rights, but with rights comes responsibilities. And all of our children do have a right to an education, and it has to be provided in a safe manner. So I think at this point we need to reevaluate what we're doing because it's not working. I have 2 children left in the school district. I've had 4 come through. I have 6 total. I have 1 that doesn't have a chance to get the vaccine because of her age. And the funny thing about kids is we don't a lot of times know that there's a congenital defect until we know there's a congenital defect. So it's our responsibility to protect all of the children. Trying to see some of the other notes. In the hospitals, we are overwhelmed with the cases that are coming in, and it's now with the Delta variant, we are seeing younger, healthier people who never thought that they were going to get it are now, you can just watch lungs being filled up and consolidated, and they don't make it. I don't know how much more proof has to be, whether it's from ODH, Franklin County Public Health, the children's hospitals, what needs to be seen for people to take responsibility and action that this is real and this is what we're facing right now. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I have, I'm not just a mom, I'm not just a nurse, but I mean, I've researched this, I live this every single day. Getting pulled into staffing when you have people that are out sick and stuff, it takes a toll on the emotional, on the healthcare workers, emotionally, mentally. I had an ED doc say the other day that they compared everybody out in the front lawn having a kegger while the house is on fire, and that's literally what we're feeling like in every institution that you could go to. So I'm here. I have 4 degrees behind my name. I have multiple certifications behind my name. If you guys have any questions, feel free. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next on our list would be, if I say it correctly, Dawn Gunno, is that correct?
That I was sent to read to you all from Michael Oglesby, the director of the Infectious Disease Institute at The Ohio State University. He says, there is no question that wearing masks reduce transmission of SARS-CoV-2, and in an unvaccinated population, the importance of this protective measure cannot be overstated. So again, we're talking about kids that don't have an option to get vaccinated. Perhaps you've seen the headline regarding the rise in pediatric hospitalizations at nationwide children's due to COVID-19. Severe infection outcomes in children are not common, but they happen, and they happen in the absence of comorbidities. I was here last week and told the story, or 3 weeks ago, feels like last week, of my 3-year-old daughter who spent 4 days at Children's Hospital and a year of torture having MIS-C from COVID. She has no comorbidities. She's a normal, happy, healthy, now 4-year-old kid that ended up with MIS-C from COVID. So you can't predict it. It's not like you can say, oh, well, that kid obviously has an underlying issue, so we need to protect that one and not that one. You can't. And this is not to mention the threat posed to faculty and staff. The vaccines work, but when you're surrounded by unvaccinated children who can circulate the virus at high levels, that vaccine-induced protection is challenged, particularly in older individuals. He says, anecdotally, I ride my bike through both a middle school and elementary school on my way into Ohio State. The kids are all wearing masks as they come to school because Columbus mandates them. They could care less. Making it mandatory is not a burden on them. It's the parents that are the challenge. Let me know if you're looking for more help. He said he's happy to answer any questions that you all have. I can forward this letter to you. He would be a good resource if you're interested. So I'm back just to say, I can't believe I'm back, but I can believe I'm back. I told the story tearfully of my daughter last time, and I don't really want to go through it again. But I just want to say, I'm hearing a lot of comments about the trauma of masks and the acne. I guess that's a terrible thing for some kids, but I watched my 3-year-old get strapped to a table and rolled into a CAT scan machine while she screamed, okay? I watched her get, I watched her go be put under to have an MRI. I have watched her get a half a dozen IVs in the last year and more blood drawn out of her body than I thought she had in her body. And she was a happy, healthy, normal 3-year-old kid. So if you're wondering, like, my kid wears a mask without a problem, man. She doesn't even think twice about it. In fact, sometimes I'm the one who forgets it and she reminds me. The kids don't have the problem. It's the parents. And I know there's a lot of statistics being thrown around, but I'm going to back what Cassandra said. We have to look at peer-reviewed scientific studies. And the last I saw, there are something like 70 peer-reviewed scientific research studies on the efficacy of masks, and something like 4 or 5 that say they don't work. The evidence is out there. It's all out there. If you choose to look at the scientific medical evidence and not TikToks and Facebook and memes and whatever, it's out there, and we need to follow that. Because we've been in school, 3 weeks? And here we are already talking about it again. Are we literally just going to wait until a kid dies? Are we going to wait until a kid ends up hospitalized like mine? Are we just, what's the goal here? Like, at what point do we say, okay, we got to stop playing politics and stop trying to appease everybody and just do what's going to protect these kids? So I hope that you will dig deeper and do the research and read the stuff we're sending you, my friends and I are sending you, and just go with what the science says and keep the politics and the, trying to make nice out of it. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Okay. Our next speaker would be Mr. Bill Russell. Are you here, sir?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm good.
Can I go in his place?
You gotta sign them.
Is she on the list?
Are you on the list, ma'am?
Nope. Can I get on the list?
We shouldn't have. It's after the fact. We normally don't add.
I mean, Bill had a chance to go, so we're wasting his time. You could just let me go.
No, we're going to stick to the list. Yeah.
Bill had a chance to go. He had.
Go to the next person, Mr. United.
Okay. Miss Anita. Okay. Brunacardi?
Hurry up.
I understand.
Brunacardi, did I get it right? Okay.
Good Italian Irish name. Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you all for allowing me to speak. I don't have anything written. I try to rely on some sort of intelligence. And I agree, this does not need to be political. And if you want to say you want to stick to science, then let's stick to science. Basic science. Do you all know what a virus is? Do you know the definition of it? I'm assuming that you do. I have it written down, though, if you want me to read it to you. The fact is, not everybody around has access to an N95 mask, which does not always work. It does not. And the ones that the kids do have, they are, yes, uncomfortable. So then you prescribed gaiters. That was a big hot thing, gaiters. Everybody bring a gaiter. Does nothing. The cloth does nothing. Now, maybe you believe in God, maybe you don't. The human body has an amazing immune system, and I'm not going to stand up here and try to placate. We have all suffered through COVID. I had COVID. I had it before anybody else probably in this room had COVID, and it was horrid. And I jokingly will say, my husband thought I was dying, and I did not. And I came back, and guess what? 2 years later, I still have the antibodies. But science, or what you want to see out there, is going to tell you that they can't say that your antibodies are going to stick around that long. Well, I'm proven it has stuck around. It'll be 2 years in December. Now, let's get back to what's really going on here, because it is political. And I think everybody in this room, mask or no mask, loves your children and cares about your children, and you want the best for these kids. But the best is not sending them into a school. And by the way, are you Bridget? No. Bridget, your secretary. Okay. You might want to work with her on her communication skills because she's not good. Okay? The fact is, you need to sniff around. I don't know if this is valid or not, but you have potentially teachers in your schools that are segregating these kids out on vaccine and not vaccinated, making them stand up or debate and tell why they haven't gotten it. No, no, no. You do not do that. And if you find whoever has done that, there is no instance that it is ever okay for a teacher to do that. Anyone. And if it has happened, I would hope that you would take issue with that or those individuals and make sure that it never happens again. I'm saying that as a parent, and I used to teach. I would have never done that, but you are single-handedly bringing segregation back into this because this is a political issue. Maybe not for you, maybe outside of here, but what we need to do, if you want to have a mask, wear the mask. I will never make fun of anybody who wears a mask. I respect your right to. If you want the vaccine, get the vaccine. I respect your right to, but you do not get to dictate to me or my child what is best for them, because right now, he also has the antibodies because he had to suffer through me 2 years ago, 2 years on. Now, I understand, obviously as an Italian, my hands are moving here, so I'm a little animated. Someone else on this board is Italian. Is it you? No? Maybe Minotti?
I'm
Someone.
I'm an American.
Okay, anyhow, don't give up on Italian. Anyhow, the point we're trying to make here is wear the mask. This is a virus. Look at the definition. There are going to be peaks and there are going to be valleys. And guess what? It's not going to stop with this one. Did you realize there were 5 other coronas before the one that happened in 2019? They all mutate. There's another one coming out of West Africa right now, but it's mutated so much it might have actually killed itself off. So please, take the politics, take your personal preferences, and put in mind here, you were put in place to represent all of us, not just a small fanatical group. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I don't go on conspiracy theories. Again, I had it. And thankfully, God allowed me to make it through. But unfortunately, we are going to lose a lot of people. We will. And guess what? It's not even the number 4 killing in the state of Ohio. Cardiac, diabetes with cardiac, all your different cancers, then you go down to COVID. But you know what's jumped up? Suicides. Suicides. Please think about that and quit making it about politics. Thank you.
I just want to remind everyone that personal attacks are not acceptable part of public discussion. If you have an issue with a staff member, you call me and we will discuss it. Please do not bring it up in another meeting again. That will not be tolerated.
We'll take it up with you.
Thank you.
And there's a way to solve every grievance, and that's by talking to the person in charge. If it's me, more power, and if it's Mr. Sutler, please do.
I will.
Okay, next on our list is James Dove. Did I get it right, sir? I couldn't quite read it.
I won't be as animated as my lovely wife. So just to introduce myself, we have one son who's currently in the 8th grade. We've been in the school system for about 7 years. Myself, I'm actually a vice president for one of the largest diagnostic companies in the world. We actually do antigen and antibody testing for COVID as well as PCR rapid. I work with the largest health system in the world. So from a science perspective, to discuss with my customers, I have to get very deep into this. I agree wholeheartedly with Mrs. Dollery in her assessment of the effectiveness of masks based off of the size of the particles that you're getting with this virus. But it seems like back and forth it's been a discussion. Are masks effective or not? To me, this is a very simple solution. If you feel they're effective, then have your kids wear them. And if they are effective, that will help them to keep from getting the COVID vaccine or COVID virus. If you don't feel they're going to help, don't put your kids through all of the mental stress and all of the physical stress associated with that. We had our son homeschool all year last year because we knew the mask mandate was going to be there, whether it was part-time or whatever. It's cruel and unusual punishment to make a kid wear a mask an entire day in school with all of their friends. So we homeschooled them. That option should be available if you don't feel that your children, are going to be safe in that, then homeschool them just like we had to last year. I mean, there's a way to do this. If masks are effective, then put them on. But don't mandate that everybody has to do that.
Okay, next on our list would be Leah Irvin.
Okay. I would like to propose that the school stop trying to control a microorganism that is beyond human control and other human beings. No matter your stance on masks, vaccines, or quarantines, it is asinine to think that we can actually stop the spread in other people. We are being given bad advice, and you'll never be able to stop infection. I simply disagree with the ODH's quarantine flow chart. I think it's a nightmare for kids, and it's forcing us to quarantine the healthy if they are unmasked and unvaccinated. Yet, it doesn't force the vaxxed to quarantine if they mask, despite the fact that they may still be able to spread the flu, unless they have symptoms. And yet, they may not have those symptoms if they are vaxxed, so who's to say they aren't spreading it more without realizing it? What good masks may or may not do can be completely negated by kids touching the mask and covering it with bacteria, as others have said. Therefore, I ask you not to put yourself in the position of being between the sides. It's lose-lose for you and ultimately for our children. At the end of the day, they are our children. They're not wards of the state. They do not belong to you, and I urge you to please stick to things that can help, like sanitizing surfaces and employing janitors to do so, which you're doing, and I thank you for that. We parents knew what it meant to be parents when we became responsible for other lives. We don't put that onus on you, or at least we shouldn't. We can decide if they need masks. We can decide if our children need vaccinated. We can decide to give them vitamins to boost their immune systems. And if they do fall ill, which happens annually at least, we are capable of deciding how to treat them and get them better. We always do it any and every time it occurs. So in short, stick to academics, teaching things that they need to learn, not political opinions or ideologies or medical decisions. We don't send our children to you for that. Publicly funded education is not intended for dividing children into groups. That is as true for race as it is for medical status. It's not okay to treat part of the student body differently than the other part. Please stop the segregation and further isolation of our students. You are a school board, not scientists, and everything can be debated back and forth. So at the end of the day, parents are in charge of their children. We don't send them to you to play parent, so focus on schoolwork and leave the parenting to us.
Next on the list would be Marcia Porter. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, board members. It amazes me. I think everyone here, I'm going to kind of turn around here. I think everyone here loves their children.
Ma'am,
If
we
you
need you
please
to speak in the mic, because
speak
there's
at-
folks at home that
speak at
can't hear
recording,
you.
yes.
Thank you.
You want the best for your children. And it seems like, this is a political, and it shouldn't be, because it's what should be best for the child. I have a younger one. When you get in high school, you get to make a little bit more judgment calls, decisions, and things like that. But younger ones need to be guided by people that are looking out for them. You know, as, again, a retired principal, administrator, educator, I have a son who works in the surgical as a director at Children's Hospital. We are seeing an uptick in the amount of illnesses among children. My grandson is in Indian Trails. They have COVID. You don't know who it is, but it's in the building. It's just a matter of time before other children get affected. Now, I understand about the mask. It would be ideal if everybody would wear a mask. But it seems like maybe we're at a point now there needs to be some other options for parents. Whether it be remote, those parents that want to send their children can do so. Those parents that don't feel comfortable, they have an option, because I'm going to give you an observation of what I see when I take my grandson every morning. The cars are lined up all the way out the street, sometimes past the light, to get into the parking lot to get to the drop-off. When you look in the cars of the parents, you see such anxiety, fear, not knowing what to expect, morning and afternoon. There's such a look that, you know, I sit there and I wish I could help them. That's the principal in me. But, you know, all I can do is pray that each and every child that walks in that building is safe and secure. As board members, I ask you to look at, when you look at your child, you're seeing the reflection of other children within the district. When I was, you know, teaching and being a principal, each and every child that came into my building, I was responsible for K through 12, and at one time K through 8th. When I looked at each and every child, it was like looking at my children. And I wanted the best for that child, even though he wasn't mine, because he belonged to somebody else. So maybe there needs to be an option for parents. But I am begging the board to make good, conscious judgment. You're responsible for the children in this entire school district. Yes, the option is, it's wonderful to wear a mask. A mask does protect. And we can see by all the news, everything that's going on with all the hospitals, all the states, this bickering back and forth, it needs to stop. It is about the children first. So please, I beg you, think about each and every child that walked in all these school districts and in Canal, Winchester. Make good judgment calls. It's like if I'm driving in a car, I can't say I'm not going to put a seatbelt on. The law, I will get a ticket if I don't have a seatbelt on. It's just common sense sometimes what we need to do. There are laws, there are standards. You can't have freedom everywhere. There are things that we have to abide, but when we're dealing with children, we need to think about them and do what's best for them, period. If you need to be protected, do so. If you want your child not to wear a mask, I don't know what to say. If you want to send your child with a mask,
Yeah, 15
you should
seconds,
have that
please.
to do
Just
so.
a reminder.
So again, I beg you, please make the right call. Think about the little ones. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, you're going to have to help me with this last name. John Saint, and I can't read the, I'm sorry. Are you here? John?
Silver?
It starts with an S. I can't quite read it, but. Yeah, please come on up. On Monarch Drive?
Evening. I'm not very good at all this. I'm not, it's actually really intimidating. I'll say you guys sit up there. First of all, the only thing I really have to say is that is the reason why we're here. is that flag. And this is a free country last time I checked. And I have a lot more skin in the game than a lot of parents. I am a single parent. I've raised 2 girls on my own for 7 years. And last year, which I know is all the schools, was hell for me. Beyond. I still had to go to work. I made too much money to get any of the checks that anyone else got. Still haven't got it. Anyone wants to sign one over, I'll take it. I had to end up spending $7,000 for a tutor to come to my house without a mask. She never wore a mask, didn't have a problem with it because she had common sense. I also had to argue with, I won't say the name, sir, one of your administrators, because they would not give us an extension on the time. So this whole situation has been out of control from the beginning, which I think we all agree on that. It got political, still political, but the bottom line is that right there. It is my choice, not none of yours, to tell my kids what the hell to do. I will be the only one doing that. I fought in court for that years ago. There will be no one else doing it. If you guys mandate a mask, my kids are yanked out of this school system day one. They will not be back. This is out of control, it's been out of control, and you guys can actually make a stand. And I'm sure everyone's seen the videos on YouTube, this, that, with the school board meetings blowing up out of control. And I'm actually really disappointed we don't have more parents here. That is the disappointing part in this, that we allow you guys to have that much control over our lives. This is not a third world country. It's not a second world country. This is the United States. We make the decisions here. We put people in place to help us make them decisions. When we don't agree with you, it's time for you guys to go. But the bottom line is, when it comes to I don't think any of you would have liked me at all to walk up to you and tell you what to do with your child. I don't think anyone would. Other than that, I don't have much to say. I'll keep the time short, but this is just out of control. It really is. You guys have destroyed, not you guys personally, but whatever system, but you guys have the power to change this. That by all means you do, and you can stop it. Because I guarantee you, I'm not the only parent out there. Everyone's at their wit ends with this. No matter what side of the aisle you're on. At some point, it's got to stop. So, thank you.
Thanks, sir. I let a gentleman sign up at the end, and that would mean we need to let the other lady talk also. So do we want to cut that off, or how do we do that?
If you let him sign up, Mr. Yanati, you're going to have to let him speak.
Then we'll have to let the other lady speak too. Okay.
That's fine, Mike.
The board okay with that?
Yes.
Fine.
Mr. White? That would have been my error, nobody else's.
I guess we could have brought it to you. That's good.
Thank you. I'm a CT technologist, and my understanding as far as COVID-19 is concerned is that
I think it's too late to sign
when
up.
we do an evaluation of a chest x-ray to determine the conditions of that person's lungs, whether they got pneumonia, influenza, or COVID-19, when you look at a normal chest x-ray, the lungs are black because there's nothing to attenuate the x-ray beam. So as you come in contact with something that's going to affect your lungs, it's going to show up on that x-ray. If I'm was able to show you 4 different images, you would see that COVID is the worst. Your lungs are flooded. It'd be like me holding your head down in a toilet. And once your lungs fill with fluid, it's like you're drowning. Now, I have a child in the school system, just like everyone else here. one child that may end up in a pediatric ICU on a ventilator. It is not something you want to see or witness. So, I'm 65 years old. I'm a type 2 diabetic. Puts me in the high risk category. I've been vaccinated. That's my personal business. I don't mind sharing it. But my son isn't, because he's not 12. So I'm playing Russian roulette with his life. I'm sending him into an environment that is not going to be accountable. The school board is not going to be accountable if my child comes in contact with COVID and it becomes severe that he ends up in a pediatric ICU on a ventilator. The school board is not going to take any responsibility. So what you're asking us as parents is to play Russian roulette. That's a difficult decision to make. I heard one of the parents talk about homeschooling. You're right. It was difficult. For some of us who had to work, it became even more difficult. Fortunately for me, I was retired, and I have an educational background. But I'm just concerned because I had contacted one of my son's teachers by email because he said to me, I don't have any elbow room to write. I'm going, excuse me, isn't this supposed to be 3 feet apart? I don't know. I went back and looked at what the district said, and they said 3 feet. So I reached out to his teacher, and this is her response. Due to some seating and the amount of students in the room, 3 feet is a goal that we are trying to accomplish. But in some situations, it's tricky. If you wish for your son to be 3 feet away from other students, we can certainly try our best to get him a desk where he is sitting away from others. As of now, the school district is not requiring masks, but if you want your son to wear a mask, please let him know this, and we will let him know this, and we will remind him to wear it. Because I asked him, were you wearing your mask? No, because the teacher said we don't have to. Excuse me? I'm your parent. I'm telling you have to.
So you have 30 seconds.
Thank you. So I'm just saying, from August 23rd to August 30th, you've had 5 cases. I'm hoping that not one of these children or any of these parents had to end up in an ICU on a ventilator. That's all I got to say.
Thanks, sir.
If you're allowing these two to speak, why can't she sign up?
We got to cut it off somewhere. There
I
has to
know,
be.
but she didn't sign up because you told her no.
Was she the one that asked when?
Yeah.
Okay, if she
All right,
was
this
the
is the
one.
last one, please.
Yes.
Last one.
Student, I think she can speak to
Yeah.
a lot of we parents.
Absolutely, she's
Yeah,
experienced.
she's fine. Go ahead. But this is the last one because you got to sign up prior to that. So we.
Wait, and you're saying she's the last one?
She's the last one.
No, go, you can go sign up.
Yeah, you have to go sign up, please.
Hi, my name is Christy Brown. I have an 8th grader, and I'll be very quick. I just wanted you guys to, I just wanted to understand the parents that don't want their kids to wear masks. Are you saying you want my child to die? Because I don't understand. It is. It's that serious. It's that serious.
Hey.
Well, it's that serious. Kids, COVID has killed a lot of people.
Hasn't been much.
COVID has killed a lot of people, and it's not going to hurt anybody by saying, let's wear masks. So I'm sorry he feels that way. I wasn't trying to offend him, but I tell my daughter to wear a mask. On top of that, if you guys do not mandate masks, then give us an option. Go back to 2 days on, 2 days, 1 day off. I think it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday you clean, Thursday, Friday the kids went to school. I'm okay with that. We did that half the year. My child didn't get a cold. That's an option. I called the school because I wasn't ready to start school because the kids had to wear, they wasn't allowed, they wasn't mandating masks, so I didn't want to send my child to school. And the lady said, well, then you're wasting your 5-6 days of the year. Your child, there's no window, there's no room. So if you're not going to wear masks, then give us an option to put our kids in a 2-day, 3-day, some other online, something. Also, what are we doing about the filters in the furnaces and to clean the air? The classes are overcrowded. There should be some kind of HEPA filters or something to clean the air. And every class, my child is in middle school, so she's changing classes. When they walk in the door, wash your hands. In other countries, as soon as they walk through the room, they're washing hands, stopping the spread of the COVID. And the last thing is, let's learn from history. The Spanish flu killed more people than the COVID. And they didn't have a vaccine in the 1918 through 1930. They did social distancing and masks. Why are we not learning from that? And they did lockdowns. And if you went outside with a mask, without a mask, you got a ticket. You were getting a ticket as if it was like the one lady said, when you wore a seatbelt, if you get pulled over, you get a seatbelt ticket. They were giving out tickets. So let's learn from history. The Spanish flu killed many, way more people than COVID. And they didn't learn until they enforced lockdowns, masks, and I don't care if it's a free country. I get that. But there's not going to be many people around if we all die from COVID. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, and the last speaker will be Mariah Foxx.
Hi, I'm Mariah Foxx. I'm a junior at this high school. I have been deeply impacted by this entire thing. I have depression, ADHD, and anxiety. Oh, sorry. This entire thing has made learning difficult for me more than it already was. I'm in honors classes. I try so hard to keep in those honors classes and keep up with those neurotypical people who don't have to struggle with learning. And I didn't want to drop below what I thought I could do as far as honors classes by going online last year. So I wore a mask. I wore a mask every day. And this year, I'm in my honors classes, and I'm happy. I'm seeing people. They're smiling. I forgot we had some of these people in my grade. It's not at all political. It's science. We've heard nurses speaking from both sides. But, sorry, I'm a little frazzled. It's not politics. I will not speak politics up here. I'm 16. I should not have a political opinion. But these masks should be optional. It is up to the parents. They should be talking with their children about what the children and the parents think is best for the child when going to school. And if that is wearing a mask, then the child should wear a mask. If it is not wearing a mask, then they shouldn't wear a mask. I also believe maybe it'd be best if there was another option for children or parents who think that it is not safe to go into school without masks, or even if they do have masks, they believe that they are still unsafe in school with other children who are unvaccinated and unmasked. Maybe they should have the option of online, just like last year. I'm all over the place. I apologize, hopping. I'm so sorry. another thing, like the person before me said, the air filters and all the filters in the school, the hygiene, it should be such a bigger thing than it already is. We're talking about masks, which is this little thing, but we aren't talking about the thing that is affecting the air that you're breathing even through the mask. We're not talking about what you're touching your supplies with. And I think it should be talked about, obviously. I'm up here talking about it. Sorry. I see kids every day wearing masks. There are some who wear masks and there's some who don't, and that is perfectly fine. I don't treat them any differently. They don't treat me any differently. That is our personal opinions. But I do believe, and my friends, I have friends who have been vaccinated. I'm not vaccinated, but they have been vaccinated, and they don't wear masks. And it's fine. We get along fine. None of us have been sick. None of us feel sick. And if we do get sick, we know don't go to school. That is obvious. If you're sick, if you're feeling sick, you shouldn't go to school. Like, that's logic. We don't drink after each other, eat after each other anyways. Like, that's should be logical. We don't share supplies. That's just logical. But I'm going off on a tangent. My apologies. Basically, it should be the parent and the child's personal option to wear a mask to school or to not. That's it, I guess. Thank you.
Is
that it?
Yes. Okay. That is the last speaker.
Mr. President, if I may, I'm Debbie Long. I am
Ma'am,
a
ma'am,
past
ma'am,
holder.
you're going to have to wait because we're already done with the public comment
I'm
section.
addressing Mr. Yanani.
Mr. Yanani.
I can speak to you afterwards. I'll be around if you wish.
Okay, I just want a couple minutes as a past board president of Canal, Winchester.
After.
I'll see you after if you don't mind. We have a lot to discuss and a number of opinions to sort of work through, and I'll be happy to talk with you. Okay, this issue is a lot bigger than everybody could even understand. This is about masks. It's not about masks. It's about the disease itself, about the science, it's about the options. And for me, I mean, I did some research with Duke University today and their reports, and so, I mean, medical, and then there's the Pediatricians Association. So there's, one, I hate to be mandated to do anything. I don't like to be told. But on the other hand, I worry about every kid in this district. And for anybody to think otherwise, I spent 44 years in this district, and as a teacher and as a coach and elsewhere. To say that we don't care, that's just blatantly wrong. Everybody on the school board thinks first about the kids. Politics have no issue. I'm the least political human being alive. That being said, is that I appreciate every comment, everybody's speech, both sides. It's a lot to chew on. Now, I'd like to hear from the board as far as, I mean, knowing that we were going to do this, I knew that this would happen, that we'd have a lot of different opposing views, different things. And we want to hear that. That's what we're here for. Okay, and any comments from the school board?
I want to thank everyone who spoke, and those who have not spoken, but have your presence here as well. Just like Mr. Yanati has stated, I do respect everyone's opinion, both sides. It takes courage to get up here and tell everyone how you feel and what your beliefs are. But I really feel like part of my job is to help ensure a safe environment for all of our kids. And my background is public policy, public administration. It's not in the medical field. Therefore, I'm not going to try to ascertain different medical facts and discuss the variance, and, I mean, we all can get that information. But what I want to do is basically look at what has been given to school boards as advice. And what I am looking at would be the state of Ohio's guidance from Governor DeWine's office as far as what they recommend school districts do in order to help keep children in school in person 5 days a week, and that's everyone's goal. We want to make sure our kids can learn in a healthy and safe environment and be in person with their teachers. But I feel like also the issue with the mask, no one is saying the mask alone is the savior. But what I feel, it's just part of a layered approach that when you take a combination of different things, including the ventilation, social distancing, hand washing, sanitizing, mask wearing, vaccinating, when you combine it all together, it improves the outcome that we can actually slow the spread. It's not a cure. The vaccination is not a cure either, but we can slow it down, and we can do what we can do in our power in order to help keep our children in school and help prevent other severe disease if we can. So basically, I'm just looking at what the guidance has been, and basically the Ohio Department of Health says that recommending following layered prevention strategies were effective at controlling COVID last year. So that's what they're going off of. They have done research and prevented evaluations, and the State Department has been relying on epidemiological information, no politics. So basically, they're saying that mask as one approach has been proven to slow the spread of the virus, and especially it's important for children that are under 12 years of age who cannot be vaccinated. So I feel like each week we're going to keep seeing these numbers rise, and I can't in good conscience just sit back and say, well, I understand the opinions of having personal choice, because if it were my personal choice and we had that available, I would have my children enrolled back in Koala. But, and like others have stated, I do. I feel like choice is important. But looking at what the guidance has been for school boards, that's what I'm deferring to, and outside of my own personal opinion. So that's all I want to say for right now.
Gentlemen.
As Monica said, I want to thank everyone for stating their opinion today and having the courage to stand up and tell us your thoughts. And we are not taking this lightly. This is a huge issue. To me, it's not a political issue. I'm looking at the best interest of the children. One thing I'm trying to focus on is the data. We're early in the school year. Data is limited right now. I don't know if I haven't seen any data comparing schools that have mask mandates versus schools without mask mandates to determine the effectiveness of them. I'm taking that into consideration in my decision. And I guess that's where I stand right now.
So I've got questions. I know I'm going to ask a bunch of questions tonight because I'm still listening to folks talking and taking things in consideration. And I think, Jim, I asked you earlier today, and we talked about an online option. Where did Koala go? Where did online go from the state? Did they remove it? Was it funding? And if you could talk to a little bit about that, because either, just to clear up our stance on it, or what's the state doing about that online situation?
So the Koala option that we had last year at the end of the school year, it expired. Okay, so we don't have that option for this school year. That has nothing to do with Canal Winchester local schools. That came from the state. The state did extend to have a different type of online school. We have applied for that application, and we're waiting to hear back from the state on whether we have received that or not. We also did one for blended learning, which is the same thing. So we have applied for those things to try to give our parents the option of whether they want to be in school or do an online. We're just waiting to hear back from the state on that. My mic just went off.
You're on.
Am I on? Can you hear me?
Just use your.
Yeah, here, just let me use this right here.
Yeah.
The original deadline was July 1st for one of the online options, just to give you a little historical value. Back in July, things were going good. Most school districts didn't apply for it because we thought we weren't going to be dealing with this again. And so the state has extended that deadline, and we applied for it again. And so we're going to see what happens from there.
I want to bring that up because I know a couple folks had talked about it, and I think either one decision or the other decision that might help families out stay in the district and give them an option for schooling education for the students. As far as building protection, I know, and I've asked you this every time, and I would like you to reiterate it again because the precautions that we're taking, the spray that we're putting down. We invested some good money in the equipment, in the spreading equipment, and the chemicals or substance, whatever we want to call that. So we're still doing that. If just speak briefly about that, if you could, just let folks know that we're still
using the Prevent 24X in the building. So it is being sprayed in the building every 2 to 3 months. It lasts up to 90 days. So yes, we're still following those protocols in the building. We're following, I heard earlier about hand washing and sanitizer. We'll make sure that we reiterate with their staff to wash hands as much as possible. The problem is you can't wash them all day long. Middle school kids, there's no sinks in the classroom. And so the only place to wash your hands is going to the bathroom. So, logistically, sometimes it's not set up to wash your hands as much as you possibly want. That's why we're using a sanitizer as much as possible. So, but I will address that with the staff, especially at the younger levels, to make sure that we're washing his hands as much as possible, but you can't do it all the time. So that's why we have the hand sanitizer out there for them. With the HVAC, I heard that a couple times, and our system is up to code in regards to the requirements needed to provide enough fresh air in the classrooms. That happened a couple years ago. So all buildings are up to code on that. We have enough on levels of we have CO2 sensors that tell the HVAC system when new air is needed in individual classrooms throughout the district. So the HVAC system has been upgraded to make sure that it meets the ventilation requirements moving out.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted, again, folks in the district to understand the building prevention protocols that we're going through with sanitizing HVAC and what's that?
I'd like to prevent 24X.
Prevent 24X. That's what that is. Okay.
I'd like to make another point. The quarantine matrix or blueprint or whatever it is, protocol is not we didn't decide that. That's given to us by the Department of Health. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And so, it makes no sense. It's what we've been given.
So I spent some time last Friday. I was in Indian Trail because I wanted to see the kids in action, the staff in action, to see actually what everything's going through, what folks are going through. And I was actually very surprised about how few masks I saw on students. It was probably, I'm not going to guess because I have no idea what it was. It was lower than what I had expected, which surprised me, given the option to families whether they want to wear masks or not. It's pretty apparent that the majority of the families are not concerned with the students wearing masks, especially at that that younger level who are not vaccinated. So that just took me by surprise. I'm just going through bullet notes. So, but what I witnessed at lunch was actually, I shouldn't say I'm surprised because I know Indian Trail and all our schools do a great job, but I was just amazed about how orderly you can get, I don't know, a couple hundred second graders to sit on the green dot 3 feet away and eat their lunch. And I asked Mr. Riddle, I said, what are the green dots for? And he said, well, that's where the kids are supposed to sit. He goes, I actually went through every single dot, measured 3 feet for every dot. And I said, didn't you start winging it after a while? Because he's pretty good. He goes, no, I didn't. He goes, I took that ruler or that yardstick every time because I wanted to make sure that we're achieving the minimum, not the minimum, but the requirement of 3 feet at the lunch table. 3 feet across from the lunch table still being acquired and also sitting next to. So, and I know we were doing that all this, the lunch, areas, not just Indian Trail, but again, I was very impressed with the cleanliness of the lunchroom, the quietness, the courteous of the students. I mean, usually I was expecting to walk in and just, not toilet paper thrown around, but at least chaos. But this was very well done, so I was impressed with that.
Welcome to school.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that there's going to be some closer contact with students because that's just the nature of a kid, is to hang out with another kid. But at the lunchtime, it actually looked, I was very impressed with that. I appreciate everyone's emails that we've received in the last couple weeks. Sorry if we didn't respond to every single one of you personally. I know some of us tried to throughout, trying to conduct our normal life and work. We're trying to, also triage through the emails and get back to folks. Doing the best we can with that. In the emails and here tonight, I've heard people say, make the right decision. Well, it's the right decision for the person asking me to make the right decision, which is not always easy to do because we're not going to be able to please one person's right decision, another person's right decision. Heard no politics all over the emails, all over tonight. It's just interesting how folks that want the mandate and folks that don't want the mandate say the other side's still talking politics. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. And again, I don't think we're calling it quarantining. It's exclusion, where we're excluding students from school. And if a student is not vaccinated and not wearing a mask and is exposed, they're part of the exclusion number where they have to go home. And I don't know if they're quarantining. I mean, to me, a quarantine, you get in your room, you shut the door, you get food put underneath the door for you, the empty tray comes out. I mean, that's a quarantine. I don't know if a student is going home in a middle school or first grade or high school if they're actually quarantining. They could be going to Dairy Queen and running around with friends, still hanging out. Again, that's the nature of a kid. They're going to hang out with other kids. So the quarantine, I don't want to be misleading with, we're quarantining kids. It's just an exclusion from the building to prevent that person who has been exposed to be in contact with another student that was not exposed. So the exclusion of the buildings, Jim, it's... I just want parents to understand, because I feel like parents are going to start getting upset when their student is excused from the building because they're not vaccinated or they're not wearing a mask. That's just part of the process. I mean, we can't really do anything about that, can we? I mean, that's just their choice for not masking a child opens them up to exclusion. Is that correct?
It could, absolutely. The biggest part is when we're at lunchtime again, making sure that we have enough space between kids. And that's where we're seeing a lot of the exclusion with our kids. And we could talk semantics, but basically quarantine comes from the Franklin County Department of Health. We have no right to quarantine any kid, student, or person. And quarantine does mean you got to stay home and don't do anything. We just exclude them from school. And so that's what we do, even though we're calling it quarantine when we have our sheet here. basically, it's
Understand, yeah.
excluding them from school. So, yes, it is, we're still going to have kids that will be in close contact with one another, especially during that lunch period. There's very little to stop that. Kids have to take their mask off. They have to eat. We're doing everything that we possibly can to get kids as far apart as possible. Last year, we used to have wear your mask till you got to lunch, eat, and then put your mask back on. We're moving kids once they're done eating. We're going to try to move them to other parts of the building. So we're doing everything we can during that lunchtime to make sure that kids will not fall within that close contact range. But schools weren't designed for social distancing. I think we all know that. There's not a school out there. When I talk to superintendents across Central Ohio, they're all having the same issue. Lunchtime seems to be that big time where they're getting most of their exclusion or quarantine, whatever you want to call it, cases outside of the extracurriculars.
And that's why I went to lunchroom when I first got there, because I wanted to see what was going on in the lunchroom. And again, I was very impressed with the lengths that we're going to make sure the kids aren't getting in contact while they have their mask off, while they're eating, if they brought a mask. And I understand on the buses, we're still mandating masks. If the student doesn't have a mask, they're instructed to give them a mask. So I think we're doing our best with that mask. And what they do when they get off the bus, that's, at this point, that's not, that's up to the family at this point. I did walk around the buildings, and the kids were washing their hands. The teachers had kids up and down and taking turns washing their hands. So, I did witness the washing the hands, the sanitizer, the separation. The kids were standing on dots. Kids are going to live on dots from now on, 3 feet apart, 6 feet apart in the hallways. So I feel like we're actually managing things. From what I saw, I was happy with what I saw with what we're doing in those buildings. Mike, I just kind of gave a synopsis of what so if you want to continue on.
The issue to me is much bigger than masks or not masks. It means if we mandate masks, what is the plan? How's the plan going to fall out? Or if we don't mandate masks, how are we going to respond to that, et cetera, et cetera. So we did want to hear from the public. I did want to hear from the school board itself. I don't make these decisions by myself, obviously. I'm 1 out of 5. So let me go on then, Mike. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I just stole it back from you. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Matt, before you go on, I have a quick question.
Sure.
Were you able to visit the other schools or only Indian Trail?
Just the Indian Trail, yeah. I only had a lunchtime.
I think, depending on the building, I think the experiences might vary based on, what your options.
Yeah, depending on the size of the building too. Our other buildings are very large. And again, social distancing through 3 feet, when you have that many kids in the building, is very challenging.
Exactly.
And I guess that's why I went to Indian Trail, just because, to high school with the expansion, there's a lot of room there for the number of students at the moment. So that's why I went to Indian, because I thought it'd be a little bit more of a challenging situation. So, but I did not go to the other buildings, no.
But 3 feet, in the classroom spaces, it's those other areas, the lunchtime is where the biggest concern is. And that's, I don't know of a school district that's not facing that concern right now in my talks with the superintendents around the area. So that's a challenge for all of us. We have rules that we have to follow, the flow chart. Someone mentioned that today. I agree with you about the flow chart. There's nothing I can do about that. That came down from the Ohio Department of Health and said this is what you have to follow, and that's what we're following. The quarantine or exclusion guidelines, whatever you want to call them, this is what we have to follow. I didn't make them up. Canal Winchester's local school board of education didn't make them up. This is what the cards that we are dealt with, and we have to deal with it. And the schools are doing the best they can to deal with this. This is, everyone goes back to last year. This is apples and oranges compared to last year. I'm sorry, last year we had a quarter of the kids in the building. We were able to social distance. We were able to do a lot of different things, a lot of things differently last year. We had koala out there. This is totally different for us now. This is a new ball game. This is a new plan. And every day we're learning something different, and we're trying to make adjustments to make sure that whatever plan we have out there it's meeting the needs of all our kids in the building, because we want to keep them safe. And most importantly, I want to keep them in school. We have a mission statement of empowering all students for success. I have a portrait of the graduate that we have instilled. And the best way for us to empower our kids for success and to have these attributes is by keeping them in school. And our job is to figure out how can we do that. COVID's not going to go away. Whether we mask up or not, I've heard this a couple times, we're still going to have cases of COVID in our building, folks. We can't get rid of that, because when kids leave here, they go home, there's no more masks, at least for the most part. Kids take the mask off. We have extracurricular activities going on. You have club sports. You have all this other stuff. This isn't like last year when we had a mask mandate and everyone masked up. You didn't go anywhere without a mask, and some businesses weren't even open. And so we also have to take that into consideration. A lot of the kids what we're seeing that are testing positive coming from the outside too. It's not necessarily here in the schools.
Yeah, the difficult part with
take
that,
that all into consideration.
the difficult part is, I agree, Jim, I mean, it's not, I don't think that it's getting, kids aren't getting the COVID in the school district, it's the outside world, but we're the ones being held accountable for it. I mean, you go to Kroger or the movies or wherever, and you can get COVID, but it's the school district is where we've got to now toe the line and be accountable and actually be the enforcer, the police of COVID, because that's just the one focal point. It's unfortunate, but that's where we're at.
But that's even more reason to use every mitigation strategy available.
So, I mean, to get farther into it, Mike, we have a week and a half, 2 weeks of data. We've only been in session for about a week and a half now. And I heard somebody say, we're already back talking about this, and it's only been a week and a half. And my personal stance on this is I don't see the data and the numbers that we have to make a decision to change what we already have in place. Yes, we have 24 positive cases for students. We've got about 38, 39, I don't know what the total number of students are. So, I mean, we're talking a very low percentage of the students compared to the student body that have, that are positive. I mean,
That's a week. You said 7 days. That's over 60 people, you said?
No, I said 24 people.
You said 24 and 39. 39 adults?
No. So we have about 3,900 students in the student body.
39 adults and
No, I'm sorry, I wasn't. No. So out of about 3,900 students, there's 24. So that 24, that's a very low percentage if you want to talk about positivity rate. We have 144 excluded, and we're talking now throwing the staff in that, so we're talking about 4,300 bodies and buildings. And the data I'm looking at, to me, my opinion, is it doesn't support going a mandate at this point. In 2 weeks, if I'm looking at data that is very different, I'm probably going to have a different opinion on what the course of action should be. If in 2 weeks the numbers stay the same and we're doing what we're doing, I'm comfortable leaving things as is. I don't know if we're going to be revisiting this every 2 weeks. I know Jim and his staff revisit this every day, every moment, every hour of the day. And he keeps us very well informed of what's going on and what's happening. But again, I've heard everyone talk, and I appreciate everyone's time and effort and sentiment of this. But from what I'm looking at, I don't see the numbers at this point. Again, this can absolutely change, but at this point, I don't see the support to change course of action. So
I too would like to see more data than we have now. But
I mean, the sample size isn't large enough, so I don't know if a swift change is necessary.
But 140
In my opinion, well,
quarantine is a lot.
so go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say, I think that, again, any change that could be made has to be well thought out. They can't just fly by night and throw something against the wall and have it stick. you're talking about more koala, you're talking about more online, you're talking about virtual. I hated virtual for my son. But if that's what it needs to take to make it work, then we need to make that plan. This is not just something you throw against the wall.
Well, I'm happy that, you know, we do have online or we're actually looking at an online option to give, again, if we're making decisions that folks don't agree, I'm sure we're making decisions that folks aren't going to agree with. At least we're trying to offer another solution for that.
Go ahead.
The kids that were quarantined ended up testing positive. Do you have that data?
I don't have that data.
I don't have that data.
No.
Is that a HIPAA violation?
Yeah.
That'd be a HIPAA violation, wouldn't it? Giving out that data?
Shouldn't be if you don't disclose identifying information.
So Mike, what other discussion, Mike, do we need to have?
I
know
just wanted
Monica,
to
go ahead,
say,
yeah.
respectfully, I have a different opinion. I feel like I don't want to wait till the numbers get high and get crazy in order to take action.
What if somebody dies?
I'd rather be proactive. And I feel like that's gambling with our children. And I can also speak from a parent viewpoint that we do have anxiety when we send our children to school and they are wearing masks, but my observation as well is not very many staff or students are wearing masks. So it appears that the masked children are part of the minority. So my other question was as far as last year when we were able to do deep cleaning once a week, we're not able to do that, right? Because we are in school 5 days a week. So
Correct, we're doing it every other, I mean, we're doing less, but we're still doing more than what we can with that Prevent 24X. So it is being used more than what the recommendation is every 90 days, but our custodians are cleaning every day.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then my other point was, as far as the data, I know that's all we have to go on, but I also want to be mindful that you do have something that's called asymptomatic spreaders. So if you're not getting regularly tested, you know, you could have staff, students, teachers walking around as a spreader, but unaware of it. So, you know, we could have, these numbers could really be a lot different, but, you know, that's argumentative. But I just wanted to point that out too, as far as keeping the data in mind.
I mean, I still encourage every family to wear a mask. You know, if that's what they want to do, please wear the mask, you know, to prevent, you know, to protect their child if that's what they want to do. I'm not saying no masks. I'm saying,
Right.
you know, give the families that option.
Right.
Absolutely.
But as we can see with the first 2 weeks, you know, and people have that choice, but they're not really employing that option. So, and it's really going against public.
Yeah.
It's really going against public health.
This is,
Yep.
it's kind of a, I'm not gonna say closed session, but we had public voice, sorry. Yeah, agree, yeah.
And basically, I'm just reiterating, I'm just following what the recommended guidelines are. And in the same handbook, as far as the recommendations go, it does address that students must be masked in public transportation. So it's like we're picking and choosing what we want to follow. So I just want to be consistent and follow all of their recommendations. That's my position.
Understood.
Thank you.
And Mike, one of the reasons we're masking on the bus is because we're not able to keep the three foot distance
Neither in
because they're
classroom.
sitting next to each
There's a
other.
government mandate for all public transportation, so whether you ride CODA or a school bus, you have to have a mask on.
Yeah, again, that's not our decision. That's coming down from the CDC, which doesn't really have that control to do, but through the federal guidelines, through how they wrote it, they have the ability to enforce that. And so that's why we're doing it.
Okay.
So do we need to take any action on this tonight, school board?
I would like to take another vote.
Okay, I have a motion.
Do you have a
for
motion
votes.
for?
Explain the motion.
Explain how the voting is going to go. We're going to vote to keep the mandate as is, or keep the policy as is.
As is. The same motion that was before, I'm making a motion to keep the mask optional policy.
So a vote yes would be to keep the mask optional policy, and a vote no would be to
consider.
require masking.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say it's a mask recommendation, not optional.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
A mask recommendation, it's not optional. It's not a mask optional, it's a mask recommendation.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so keep the current plan of
Keep the current
mask
plan.
recommendation.
So you're voting yes
Versus-
to keep the plan as is.
This is
And a
changing the
vote no would
plan.
be to change the
Right.
policy.
If we vote to change the plan, then we can make another vote on how we're going to change the plan later.
Okay, so we have the motion from Monica.
I'll second mine. And write the minutes. Yes, vote to keep the mask optional as is.
Mask recommendation, the current policy.
Policy.
Yes, as is, right? Keeps it as is. No removes it, makes it not optional.
Correct.
So then we need another vote on what we are going to do.
Correct.
I'll second that.
Mr. Krueger?
First,
Tally.
Krueger, correct.
Okay, Mr. Watson, if you'd call the vote, please.
All right. Mrs. Tally.
No.
Mr. Messler.
Yes.
Mr. Krueger. Yes. Mr. Yanati.
I want to preface this by saying I'm going to refer to the Department of Health and others, including the Duke University, and vote no.
So it's a tie.
So I guess that would be 2-2, and we'll have to wait for Mr. Butler to meet at the next school board meeting or a meeting thereof to break the tie.
So is that to break the tie, Jim, or is that to revote, to
Revote.
It'd be a
Right
revote.
now,
discuss what's the?
right now, the plan stays as is.
Okay.
Okay, so we'd have to convene with another meeting, whether it's a regular board meeting in September, which I can't think of the date off the top of my head, or another special meeting when Mr. Butler is available.
Thank you. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting, please.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Metzler and Ms. Talley. If you call the roll, please.
Mr. Messler.
Yes.
Mr. Krueger. Yes. Mr. Yanati.
Yes.
Mrs. Tally.
Yes.
Thank you very much.